Hey everybody, welcome back. My name's Jackie and you've come to join me for my very first book to movie comparison. This is a new series I'm trying to start. I'm super excited about it. I really enjoy reading books that have films, and I really enjoy watching films, and since I do this in my personal life anyway, I thought I might as well do it on camera for you guys. So if you are just joining me and this is your very first time joining me, welcome to my channel. I like to sit on my floor and talk about books with the people of the world. Except this time I'm going to be talking about books and it's movie with people of the world. So, welcome. A few things you need to know about today's video though is there are going to be spoilers. I can promise you there's going to be spoilers. So if you've not read this book or seen this film, please, I hope you stick with me, but if you don't want to be spoiled for it, please turn it off now, go watch the film, read the book, whichever one you've not been spoiled for, and then come back and join me and we'll have a little discussion about it. But the book we're going to be working with today is A Clockwork Orange by Anthony Burgess. It was published in 1962 and it was written in a matter of 3 weeks. 3 weeks he wrote this work, baby. And I will be comparing it to the 1971 Stanley Kubrick film starring a very young and very cute Malcolm McDowell, A Clockwork Orange. I do not have a physical copy of it. I watched it on Netflix. I don't know where my actual copy of the movie went. I think it got lost in my move of switching stuff. So, there are 5 main categories that I'm going to be referencing when comparing these two items, because the book and the movie correlate fairly well. They follow the same path. Things are in the same sequence. They don't really veer that much, except details of things are changed. And there's 2 parts I'm going to be talking about where things are gone. So the first thing I want to talk about is the language. Anthony Burgess uses a very made-up language in this book, kind of like a mix between Cockney English and then just made-up words in general. I'm going to be reading you the very first paragraph of the book, and you can see what I mean. I am going to try to pronounce these correct. I'm probably not some of these words, so just bear with me. Alright, here we go. Get my reading voice on. What's it gonna be then, eh? There was me. That's Alex and my 3 droogs. That's Pete, Georgie, and Dim. Dim being really dim. And we sat in the Korova milk bar making up our racidocs. What to do with the evening? A flip, dark, chill winter bastard, though dry. The Korova milk bar was a milk plus mesto. And you may, oh my brothers, have forgotten what these mestos were like. Things changing so scory these days and everybody very quick to forget. Newspapers not being read much neither. Well, what they sold there was milk plus something else. They had no license for selling liquor, but there was no law yet against prodding some of the new shishis, which they used to put into the old maloko, so you could peat it with a velicit or sympathetic or a dremkron or 1 or 2 other vishishis, which would give you a nice quiet horror show, 15 minutes admiring Bog and all his holy angels and saints in your left shoe with lights bursting all over your mogs. Very weird language. It makes this book quite difficult to read in the beginning, but once you read the first chapter, it kind of is laid out and you really get the feel of it, and so it becomes really easy and actually quite fun to read this book with this language. But in the film, using this language, because you have the visual imagery already put in your face and you can see exactly what they're talking about, it's a lot easier to understand the language barrier that is within this book. So when it comes to that difference, the movie works a lot better with the language than the book does, but you wouldn't have that without the book, and I'm really glad that Anthony Burgess did that. It puts a different spin on this book and gives you a different feel for this book, and once you get the hang of it, it's actually kind of fun to read it, and you kind of get this little rhythm going on. And if you watch the movie, Malcolm McDowell does definitely speak in kind of like an iambic pentameter. I can't say that. Iambic pentameter? I don't even know if I'm saying it right. You know what I'm talking about. It has a different rhythm to it, so I really do enjoy that. The second major topic that we're going to be discussing is a difference. When we get introduced to Alex, which is the narrator and lead protagonist in this book, who is Malcolm McDowell's character in the film, we find out that he's only 14, 15 years old. Not a big deal until you realize what the book's about and what Alex is obsessed with. Alex is obsessed with ultra-violence. I'm talking rape, murder, brutal beatings, theft, larceny, trashing stuff. Just, he's obsessed with anything that is violent or against societal norms, he is obsessed with. And he's like 14, 15 years old. Which makes for the big climactic scene that the movie is really known for, all the more horrid to watch. Reading it was bad enough. Because the scene I'm talking about is, of course, the climactic rape scene in literally the first 15 minutes of this film. It also happens within like the second chapter of this book. So the time frame for it is still very correlating very, very well. Except Alex being 14, 15, committing this horrific rape on this elderly woman is disturbing to read about. But in the film, is it disturbing to watch? Yes. But in the film, Alex is like 18 years old. So it's digestible. Does it go down smooth? No. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. But you can kind of deal with it. You can handle it. Him being 14, 15, gross. Ew. So having that age difference in the film and the book definitely make the book a little harder to read at some points because of all the ultra-violent acts that he does, just knowing his age. The film makes it a little bit easier to break things down, to maybe sort of understand the psychosis that this guy has, but not by a lot. The next one I want to talk about is a scene where the scene is in both the book and the film, but it is again different based off an age range, okay? And also one major difference. Again, Alex is 18 in the film, 14, 15 in the book. In the book, he goes to what looks to be a record store and basically gets two 10-year-old girls to come back to his home with him and rapes them. That's in the book. In the film, he goes to a record store and sees two girls of his age and he starts a conversation with them. Looks like they're hitting it off. They go back to his place and what looks to be consensual sex. So they took a violent act and made it a little bit more palpable for us because there's so much ultra-violence in this already. Stanley Kubrick gave us a little nugget and kind of downplayed it a little bit for us. While the book, Anthony Burgess is still going head on. He wants to get his point across that this is what this kid's into, okay? This is what he does. He doesn't give a shit about what other people think. But this is him. Okay? So you have those differences, which... 10? Really? Ooh. Ugh. The next one I want to reference is the title. In the movie, you have no idea what the title means. If all you've ever seen is the movie, there's no reference to the title in that film whatsoever. None. It just, you don't. But in the book, when they talk about the title, it explains really what the book's about. It gives that clarification and that philosophical background that Anthony Burgess wanted to get across through that title. Now, that clip is read right here. Then I looked at its top sheet, and there was the name, A Clockwork Orange. And I said, that's a very gloopy title. Who would ever heard of A Clockwork Orange? Then I read a Malenky bit out loud in sort of a very high-preaching gloss. That attempt to impose upon man, a creature of growth and capable of sweetness, to ooze juicily at the last round of the bearded lips of God, to attempt to impose, I say, laws and conditions appropriate to a mechanical creation. Against this, I raise my sword pen. Reading that right now probably doesn't make a lot of sense to you. But this book has a moralistic message, believe it or not. For as much ultra-violence that it has a moralistic message. And what that message, I believe, is, and this is my opinion, I believe that message is it good to be genuinely good because you chose to be good over evil? Or is it good when your choice is taken away from you and you have to be? I say that because Alex, with his love of ultraviolence, eventually does get caught in this book. And then he gets put in prison. He wants out of prison. So he signs up for this test and this experiment called the Clockwork treatment, which the government administers. And what it does is it basically classically conditions you to become violently ill and nauseating, and basically you can't do anything because you're so sick at violent images, violent tendencies, violent thought processes. So he's now conditioned the violence out of him. He is automatically, he has to be good or he's going to be in excruciating amounts of pain, vomit, nauseousness. So the Clockwork Orange, what you read there is, in that scene, Alex is, that's the rape scene that you're reading, when he's raping the elderly woman to Singing in the Rain, the classic epic scene that the film is known for. But they glaze over this and they don't put that in there at all. But that, I think, should have been in the film because it helps explain it. It helps gives you an idea of what the film's about. Now, the film conveys this message just the same, but it does it different ways. In the book, you already kind of get what's going on ahead of time because of this. Because the husband of the wife was an author and he was writing against this treatment. He didn't think it was right. He thought it was considered inhumane. And it's basically what he's saying. Is that it's inhumane to take away your choice. No matter if you're forcing someone to be good. They're not a good person if they're being forced to be it. It's just mechanical at that point. So I really think that the film lost some of the beauty of this story by not putting in that passage. So I'm really glad that passage in the book. It helped explain it. It helped bring out that philosophical message that Anthony Burgess was trying to get out way sooner. And I really, really enjoyed that part about it. So I definitely picked the book on that aspect of in likenesses. The last topic that I think is really worth talking about when you're comparing this book and film is the absence of chapter 21 in the film. Stanley Kubrick's 1971 adaptation of A Clockwork Orange ends where the original American release of Anthony Burgess's A Clockwork Orange ends. Anthony Burgess released this book without chapter 21, but in England, in the European countries, he released it with chapter 21 and then re-released it later on. Stanley Kubrick adapted the film without chapter 21. Now, chapter 21 is where that moralistic message comes around full circle. After Alex has become classically conditioned to be disgusted with evil and he can't function, he makes his way back to the house of the woman that he raped. Okay? The woman has killed herself because of the rape. She couldn't live with it. So now her widowed husband is there and he's kind of kooky. He figures out that Alex is the same young man who raped his wife and basically tortures him. He locks him in a room where he can't get out and he plays classical music, which wouldn't be a big deal if when they were classically conditioning Alex in prison, they weren't displaying all the horror images used to do it to classical music, such as Beethoven's Ninth, which is the one they focus the most on in the film. So he's in a room and all he hears is Beethoven's Ninth and he's feeling awful. He's feeling disgusted. He can't do anything. He can physically move. He finds a window, throws himself out of it, trying to commit suicide just to end it. Because even thoughts of ending yourself caused him to be violently ill, but he was able to overcome it enough to throw himself out the window. He doesn't die. He ends up in the hospital, and in the hospital, they recondition him to be what he used to be. And at the end of Stanley Kubrick's film, that's where it ends. It ends with him being exactly where he was, the same ultra-violent, loving Alex that's like now 17 years old, or now in the film is like 2021, and in the book, he's like 17. Anthony Burgess wrote another chapter, which is chapter 21. Now that Alex is released, he goes back into the world and he's now morally choosing of his own self to be a good person. He's outgrowing the violent tendencies because he's seen what it does. He runs into one of his old droog buddies who's married and about to have a baby, and he thinks, this is what I want. Maybe this is what I need in my life than all of this nonsense that I've been doing. So now he's making the moralistic choice, completing the circle of Anthony Burgess's philosophy that being a good person is not about having lack of choice. It's about making a choice to be a good person, to be moralistic, to follow the laws, to not do violent things. That's being a good person, not just the fact that you physically can't do it. It's an argument that has been it's an argument that our governments have been arguing about for a long time, especially within rape cases. Chemical castration is a very real discussion about when it comes to rapists. And that's all I really know about it. I never really did a lot of studying about it, but I do know that this is definitely an example of what might happen if that were to actually be implemented on a regular basis, taking the choice out of something and making it more of a mechanical, robotic function that you have to do. So those are the 4 categories that I based my comparison and review on, or 5 categories. Because of those 5 categories, I have chosen to prefer the book over the film, which is very, very weird for me. I actually think the book is better than the film, even though the book makes Alex so much younger, makes it harder to read. The language makes it really difficult to process things. But I think the message that Anthony Burgess was trying to convey comes out better within the book than it does in Stanley Kubrick's film. Now, is Stanley Kubrick's film still amazing? Yes. Did Malcolm McDowell do a fantastic fucking job in it? Damn right he did. He did an awesome job in this film, and I applaud him. He did a fantastic job. But I think the message, the real message of this book, was not conveyed as well as it could have been had Stanley Kubrick followed Anthony Burgess's actual original work. Now, with that being said, I'm going to read to you what Anthony Burgess said about the adaptation himself. We all suffer from the popular desire to make the known notorious. The book I am best known for, or only known for, is a novel I'm prepared to repudiate. Written a quarter of a century ago, a jet d'esprit knocked off for money in 3 weeks. It became known as the raw material for a film which seemed to glorify sex and violence. The film made it easy for readers of the book to misunderstand what it was about, and the misunderstanding will pursue me until I die. I should not have written the book because of the danger of misinterpretation. I don't disagree with Anthony Burgess on the fact that his film might have been misinterpreted because of Stanley Kubrick's adaptation of it. He takes a lot of the moralistic parts and components out of the story. He thinks that they're there, but in all honesty, he needed to follow the script, follow the source material far better. But as for the film glorifying sex and violence, the amount of sex and violence in that movie is in this book. It correlates. It does. Actually, there's probably more in the book because they make all those violent acts being done by a child versus a young adult, which they do in the film. At least a young adult has the mental capacities to understand that this is wrong. A child, you're saying that you're literally breeding a sociopath in this book, is pretty much what you're doing. At least in the movie, you know, he was already older when he became a sociopath. He wasn't when he was a child. Like, this is creepy to know that a 15-year-old could be a sociopath versus like an 18-year-old. Granted, a lot of people might think there's only 3 years difference, Jackie. What are you talking about? Well, 3 years is a big fucking deal. You're talking a senior versus a freshman in high school. This is a big goddamn deal. I mean, think back to when you were a senior, then think back to when you were a freshman. Yeah, there's a very large maturity gap there. And so I think Stanley Kubrick actually doesn't really glorify the sex and violence. I think he actually downplays it a little bit more than the book does, because I think there's actually more in the book. And they're a little bit harsher in the book versus the film. He kind of mutes it and makes it a little bit more digestible. Is it still violent and very in your face? Yeah, but it's a little bit more digestible than the book is. So that is my review and comparison of A Clockwork Orange and compared to Stanley Kubrick's 1971 adaptation of A Clockwork Orange. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you think about it. I know this is kind of the first go around. Clockwork Orange is kind of like my guinea pig for this, which is irony because Alex was a guinea pig for the Ludovic treatment, and see how well that worked out for him. So we'll see how well this works out for me. Just let me know what you guys think in the down bar below. Let me know if you agree with me or if you have any comments of your own. If you've ever done a comparison like this yourself, just let me know. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will definitely see you again for series number 2, which is Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. I'll be comparing that film to its book. Excuse me. I'm still working on a sinus infection. Yay. Yay. And I'll also be seeing you with my May wrap-up and June TBR very, very soon. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will see you guys all on the flip side, and have a great one. Do thumbs up, like, subscribe if you like this video. Let me know what you thought. It's definitely a work in progress, so I know it's very rough. Hopefully the next one will go a little smoother, and I've had some practice doing this, but just let me know. All right, see you later, guys. Bye.